As you know, my mitzvah is Tefillin. So it's not surprising I found my greatest find, my greatest innovation in Tefillin, through Tefillin. My thing is that the fourth Amos starts from the elbow and goes down, which is an Amah. And the third Amos, which is the size of the body, which would come to the head, ends here at the elbow. And we know this because if you raise your arm, this is where it comes across. Now what I'm going to do is show you something. This is going to appear here because I'm doing it in a selfie mode. It's going to appear that I'm putting the tefillin on in my right hand, but I'm not. I'm really putting it on my left, but it's going to appear as if you're looking at it in the right hand. So what I do is you put the block on while you're sitting down and then say the bracha, you see. And so a bracha should only be in Berea world. So it's obvious that I'm still in Berea world while I'm saying the bracha. So I'm really in the third Amos because there are three Amos in the body which relate to the nefesh, ruach, and neshama. And so the third level, the third neshama would come up to the top of the head. That's the three Amos of the size of the body. So my putting this bracha on, this cube on, is related to the third Amos, you see, where I say the bracha. And notice it's before the elbow. See? So it's still, the bicep is part of the Berea world. Now, I'm going to wrap 7 times. You wrap it as 2 shins. A 3 and then a 4. And then you wrap it the rest around. Now this whole, from the elbow to the end of the hand, is considered the Amma, the Amos. It's a cubit, size of a cubit. And what I'm going to show is this 3 and the 4 is that these 2 shins, 3 and 4 making 7, parallel the shins up here on the head, in the head tefillin, of 3 on the right side and 4 on the left. And what I say is that these represent the 13 attributes of mercy. So how does 2 shins represent the 13 attributes of mercy, which I feel is higher than the 10 commandments? You see? So here's how it's done. Because what we have is 7 wrappings, but then there are 6 spaces in between. We have 1, 2, that's the spaces within the 3 prongs of the shin. Then a gap between the 2 shins, and then 1, 2, 3. So it's 1, 2, gap, which is 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. That's 6 gaps in the 2 shins, and 7 wrappings, that's 13. So we really have 13 here. Remember, the real thing is the gaps. The gaps, that's how you learn things. You learn things between 2 things. Remember I asked about a sandwich? It's the between that makes the ham sandwich. See? The chicken sandwich. See? So there are 13 attributes here in the two shin. Now here is what I say makes the fourth. See, now when we put on the tefillin of the head, this is done standing up because it's in the Atzilut world. Anything in the Atzilut world is done standing up, but because of purposes here. Now, when I do it standing up, then this is above the head. See? So the head ends, and then it's above the head in the Atzilut world. And there are two shin on either side, which is no different than if I put my arm over, here are two shin. So these two shin up here also represent the 13 attributes of mercy. I say that the shin represents the two shin on the tefillin of the arm, tefillin on the head, represent the 13 attributes of mercy. You see? And that's what we're accessing when we put on tefillin. The 13 attributes of mercy. And this is my thing because here's the level of the third, and then we raise the hand, see, into the fourth, and as I said, then after we do that, that's the end of the fourth, so to speak, and then we come back. Remember, this is the higher level, but then we come back and we do the Yehida level. The Yehida level is when we wrap the center finger in 2.5 or 3, which actually represents the Rod Lo area, or the 3 heads of Atik Yomin in a certain sense. And then we wrap the hand. And this is the 5th aspect of the soul. We wrap the yad, the chaya yad. Chaya yad, those letters rearranged spell Yehida. So the hand represents the Yehida. And that's all the kinyan by yad, and the whole idea of the yad. You see? And this all comes from the 7 wrappings, 13 attributes of mercy represented in the 7 wrappings, and that's why the second shin has a extra prong. And it's a space between. Because the space between is always the big deal for me. See? It's the time between the breaths. It's the time of consciousness. It's the time between actions. The space between. In a certain sense, that's what the whole idea of the Aleph is. A yud on top, a yud on the bottom, and a vav in the middle. It's the space between the upper and the lower. So here, but my innovation here is that these two shinim here, these two shin, parallel the arm shin, of course, and this is the 13 attributes of mercy. 13 and 13 is a 26. It's a nice yud hey vav hey. And the point is that this goes up, and that's what makes the outreach of the 4th Amos. This is the limit of the 3rd, and then Amos 4 is that. You see? Which includes in the hand the 5th. So that's what I have to show here. About the 13 attributes of mercy are found in the two shin. The two shin, 7 wrappings in the arm, and the two shin in the head. And those are in the Atzilut world. And the 4th Amos, which can extend into a fifth Amos range, because the fourth Amos, the Dalet Amos, is the surrounding light. But that surrounding light is a circle. But when you start stretching out of the circle into its limits, that's with the hand. And that's a fifth Amos. That fifth Amos is a square. And that's why it's on a square. These are on squares, cubes, because it's a square. These two shinim may be surrounding lights, the 13, but it's on a square, on a cube, and that's the fifth light. That's the Yehida. And the square is a final mem that surrounds the Samak, and that's the 600. And that 600, by the way, is represented in the word tzitzis, which is on the square because there are four corners. And this 600 of tzitzis, you see, represents this, because 600 is the magic number. 600 is the 586 of the shofar plus the yad. The yad, the 14 periks of the hand. And so the 14 periks of the hand plus the 586, that's 600, and that's the square. And it just so happens that I have a dalet here, a yud here, and a dalet on the back of my head, and that's 14, and that's yad. And that's what holds the shofar, and it makes it 600, and that's the second surrounding light, which is the cube. And so here we have everything. And if one recognizes this, they've appropriated the Dalet Amos and stretched out of the Dalet Amos into a fifth Amos and appropriated its appropriate consciousness.